the renewed, the rejuvenated Swedes.
A Swedish team who've just come off absolutely destroying, embarrassing, and just stamping to have in the future to play with such a strong lineup. Lots of variables here for this team.
Yeah, one of the cool things for me as well is that we talked about how strong Fnatic are here, and of course, again, you know, Liquid, bit of a new lineup, not a lot of routine, but in the past, actually, when Simple was on Flipside, it was actually one of their best maps, and the reason was mostly just because Blade fully enabled the team around Simple, just to, you know, allow him to do whatever he wanted, and he could somehow just win games all by his lonesome in many cases with his AWP. Obviously, JDM's going to be the dedicated AWPer for Team Liquid, as unlike Simple, he's not as proficient with the rifles and pistols, but JDM also a really one of the things that really struck me about JDM as he's, you know, this upcoming and rising star, is that he's very, very good at dealing with like pressure situations, and like he really understands and embodies a lot of like very important sports psychology concepts to keep that consistency in the moments of high pressure, and that is exactly what they need, and that's what they didn't have in the last major, because they had, you know, Kusta, who is an up-and-coming player, but he's still quite young, not much experience. I think JDM is just the right man for the job.
For those at home watching on GoTV, I think it might be pretty cool if we try to give them a player to focus on in each half of these games. It looks like we're going to have Fnatic starting on the CT side, Team Liquid on the T side. Are there any particular players on each team that you think would be good to focus on if you're watching in GoTV right now?
I think Simple is always fun to watch. It's actually really difficult. I think you're going to have to pick one of three, and I'm going to let you narrow this down, James. I'm going to pick three for you on Liquid's side. So JDM, Simple, and Hiko, but three players who are very characteristic, very stylized, but very fun to watch in their own individual way. So which one do you think would be your pick out of those three?
That's an interesting question. Because on the T side, Hiko's probably lurking, right? So I'm not going to pick him. I'd rather see JDM on the CT side, I want to say, because I don't think they're going to be playing with him looking for entries as much as CLG might, for example. So of those three, I'd probably pick Simple, but I think Nitro and Elige might be interesting on the T side as well. I don't really know who to pick. Again, Liquid are somewhat of an anomaly at the moment, so with stand-ins, new players and so on, they're a bit of a... It's hard to decide. So I think Simple's not a bad choice by any means.
Yeah.
And if you're an AWPer, then just always watch AWPers. But what about the CT side here?
Well, the thing is with Fnatic is that on Cobblestone you have the very characteristic thing when it comes to the T side. JW, you're going to see him running around with a sawn-off shotgun, attacking drop zone. It's kind of a specialty thing that he does, and it's actually very cost-effective to do it like that. Not many teams actually go with that sort of a strategy. So JW can be quite interesting to watch from that perspective, because you can kind of narrow down, okay, he's trying to do this, these are the kind of tactics he's going to be using, and he's very routine when it comes to that. Of course, his aim is unreal, and that's kind of the hard thing with this matchup, because it's hard to copy a lot of the stuff that these players on Fnatic and Liquid are doing, because every single player, their skill is it's just so unreal. They'll be able to make decisions that just won't make sense for the average man, James. So I didn't even answer your question.
I know you didn't. Of course, I know you did. I'm just asking to pass the time because I'm expecting a monologue to come out.
And Crimson, I would say, are more reserved players. So from a decision-making perspective, there's a lot to be learned from watching them, and a lot that you can take away as a player that does not have the individual skill that they have.
So I think a technical issue is being resolved on Crimson's computer at the moment, which is why he's standing up. He's not just soaking up the Fnatic cheering that's going on right now in the venue, and what a nice venue it is. This is the biggest venue I've definitely been in for Counter-Strike.
Oh, yeah,
it's great to see how far the game has come. As somebody who's played it for about 13 years, it's definitely...
James, the fans here are phenomenal. These guys are making so much noise, so passionate about the game. I can't believe we've come this far.
And I know, it's awesome to see a full sold-out venue here in Cologne. Can't imagine. We need statistics on how much bratwurst is being consumed. Bratwurst and currywurst. We need statistics on that. Yes, I'll get on that.
Yeah. Well, I think we've helped out quite a lot there already.
We've made our own contributions.
Yes,
we have indeed. So we continue to wait for Crims to join the serve. We have 9 out of 10 at the moment. Again, great to see Olofmeister back on the side as well. Wenton was a credit to the team during his time, but now Fnatic very quickly back to full force, having some solid 16-0s and almost 16-0s in Atlanta very recently as well. You can see Crims admiring the fans there in the crowd. Must be quite a spectacle as a player as well.
Oh yeah.
Standing on the stage, just seeing everything out there. Obviously, you see they have white noise in their headsets, which is why they have big headphones over their in-ear buds. so they can't hear Dad and I talking nonsense too much. But you can definitely feel the pulse of that crowd.
Oh, absolutely, and you made a point about Olofmeister there, which is interesting because you have a situation when you have a guy coming back from an injury where maybe he's still kind of trying to generate confidence and so on, and maybe he's one of your star players. That's kind of the key there. The operating terms, like he's one of the star players of Fnatic. That's why Olofmeister is going to be able to have a more like an easier environment than, let's say, Guardian, who had the injuries coming back to Na'Vi. We've seen Guardian having some struggles as well, because Guardian knows that he has all the pressure on him to deliver every game. He knows that's something that he's understood, and I've interviewed him in the past about that, and he understands that if he has to play his best game for his team to win tournaments and for his team to just generally make it deep in any of these tournaments against these top 8 level teams. And Olofmeister, he's got so much skill to back him up. He can play much more dynamically based on how he feels, and if he wants to step down a little bit as a star player, or doesn't want to get as aggressive as normally he would, or pick up the AWP. There's about 4 other people on the team that can pick up the AWP very proficiently, so there's such a dynamic team, and that's what I really love about watching Fnatic.
Indeed, and we have the analyst desk ready to talk maybe more about AWPs, maybe more about something else while we wait for this issue to be resolved. So over to you, Machine.
We'll be talking about that semi-final a little more while they do resolve any issues over on stage. You've got to have that perfect playing environment, of course, when you've got so much on the line. Not only is it, trying to retain this legendary aura surrounding you, but also the opportunity to get closer to that $1 million prize pool. It's a whole lot of money, not a bad chunk of change. And we're going to be talking now as to the coaching staff, the people behind these teams. I do want to start with Liquid, Jason, and it's more appropriate with Tempo Storm. We saw his effect there. He's definitely, already making a big impact on this North American side.
Yeah, I think the big thing is just the discipline that he kind of brings to the table. I'm not sure, I haven't really spoken to him much about what he's doing with the team strategically, but even when you talk to him, he does have like this a little bit more air of demanding respect that they haven't had in the past, and that's the big thing, especially with a guy like Simple. I know Duncan touched on the fact that Nitro in the past was very much wanted to switch out of this entry fragger role that he's so suited to, and now you have Peacemaker coming in, and talking to the Team Liquid guy, even Hiko acknowledges it. Him and Simple and Peacemaker have had their heads butt frequently when they're in boot camping, when they're in practice, and it's a daily thing. It was starting into it, but now because of this demand of respect, because Peacemaker says you can't get away with this, you can actually see Simple buying into this system that he's enacting. You can see Nitro being an entry fragger now for the team.
So here's an interesting detail to add to that, okay, which is that I actually heard in the Tempo Storm Now Immortals team that basically Phelps was in a similar position, right? He's a very talented player, but the reason he'd never been even considered for a team like Luminosity, now SK, was people said, oh, he's like the Simple of the scene, he's too toxic, he's too wild, you can't control him. Well, obviously, while Peacemaker was actually the coach of that team was when that guy got his head together. He became part of the team. He became, for me, the best player in that team, actually. And we've seen since then, Immortals is a fantastic team. And I actually think that's one of the rare cases where Peacemaker leaving Immortals for whatever reasons was actually a move that ended up working out for both people. Immortals figured out their own system. They used Bolts as the in-game leader. They managed to go ahead and win DreamHack. Now over here we have Team Liquid making the semi-final. So I think it's been a good addition.
Yeah, and so have we. It's been a small addition to the show, but it does look like issues are resolved. And so finally, we can get involved into this second semi-final. It's time to see how Cobblestone plays out between Fnatic and Liquid. Your casters are going to enjoy this one. James and DDK, you can carry on now.
Right then, we are around 30 seconds away to the beginning of this match. Just to recap, Fnatic are going to be starting the first map on the CT side. Do wonder if they're going to opt for double AWPs or if they'll even have the economy to do so sometime during the map, and Liquid again will be starting on the T side. So it's Hiko's second test. He's come a long way. You saw his VT there, tried to build a super team. It all fell apart, and now he's back with a very strong team indeed. Is this the team to take him to the final, or will Fnatic shut them down as they did Gambit? We are soon to find out.
Yeah, this is a very scary team, and they've had some great results already on Cobblestone, which is why they're going to it here. And we're about to see them set the pace, because they're going to be kicking things off on the T side when we get into this pistol round. So Liquids, they're going to have a lot to answer for against the defense of Fnatic, which is very legendary. And let's see how they decide to go for the buy right now. Looks like we have some grenades here on Hiko. We've got Kevlars all around with the rest of the players. So likely a fast round here from Team Liquid as Fnatic